Alright, let's dive into this because it's a story that's got me thinking. And trust me, there's a lot to unpack here. So, the Milwaukee Bucks just waived CamThomas, less than 2 months after signing him. Yeah, you heard that right. The same CamThomas who was averaging over 20 points per game last season. Personally, I think this is one of those moves that raises more questions than it answers. What makes this really interesting is the timing and the context behind it. It's not just about a player being waived. It's about what this says about the Bucks' current situation and their future plans. First off, let's talk about CamThomas. This guy is a scoring machine. I mean, dropping 34 points in his second game with the Bucks? That's not something you just brush off. Doc Rivers even compared him to Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams, 2 Sixth Man of the Year legends. But here's the thing. Thomas's minutes started to drop, and then he was benched entirely. From my perspective, this isn't just about his performance on the court. It's about fit, chemistry, and maybe even something behind the scenes that we're not seeing. What many people don't realize is that the NBA is as much about off-court dynamics as it is about on-court talent. If you take a step back and think about it, this could be a case of a player not meshing with the team's culture or system. Now, let's talk about the Bucks' decision-making here. They're not exactly in a great spot this season, trailing by 7.5 games for the play-in spot in the East. That's a massive fall from grace for a team that's been a playoff staple for nearly a decade. In my opinion, waiving Thomas feels like a move made out of necessity rather than strategy. Doc Rivers said they ran out of bodies. But what this really suggests is that the Bucks are in damage control mode. They're not in the hunt for a championship this year, and they're prioritizing the players who fit their current needs. One thing that immediately stands out is how this reflects on their roster management. Are they making short-term decisions that could impact their long-term goals? Especially with Giannis Antetokounmpo's Supermax extension looming in October. Speaking of roster moves, let's talk about Pete Nance. The Bucks are using Thomas's roster spot to convert Nance from a two-way contract to a standard NBA deal. Personally, I think this is a solid move. Nance is the kind of player who brings value beyond stats. He's a high IQ guy, a great locker room presence, and a reliable role player. What makes this really interesting is the contrast between Thomas and Nance. Thomas is a high-scoring guard with question marks in other areas, while Nance is a do-it-all player who fits into any team dynamic. This raises a deeper question. Are the Bucks shifting their focus from star power to team chemistry? If you take a step back and think about it, this could be a strategic pivot as they rebuild for the future. But here's the bigger picture. The Bucks are at a crossroads. They've gone from championship contenders to a team fighting for relevance in just a few years. In my opinion, this season is a wake-up call. They need to figure out their identity, their roster, and their path forward, especially with Giannis's future hanging in the balance. A detail I find fascinating is how this mirrors the broader trend in the NBA right now. Teams are realizing that star power alone isn't enough. You need a cohesive unit that buys into a system. What this really suggests is that the Bucks might be rethinking their entire approach. So, where does this leave CamThomas? Honestly, I think he'll land on his feet. He's a proven scorer, and there are plenty of teams that could use his offensive firepower. But this situation is a reminder that the NBA is a business, and sometimes even talented players get caught in the crossfire. From my perspective, this is a story about fit, timing, and the harsh realities of the league. It's not just about what happens on the court. It's about everything else that goes into building a winning team. Before I wrap this up, I want to leave you with a thought. What does this say about the Bucks' future? Are they making the right moves to convince Giannis to stay? Or are they risking it all by not addressing their issues head-on? Personally, I think this offseason is going to be pivotal for them. They've got some tough decisions to make, and how they handle them will define their next chapter. So, what do you think? Is waiving CamThomas the right move for the Bucks? Or is this a sign of deeper issues? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take.